Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to another episode of Bobby Legs Loves Watches. And today I will be reviewing the Linden by the Visitor Watch Company. I'd like to thank Random Rob for lending this watch and for review. Look, it's because of these relationships that I've developed with you guys over the last year and a half, people lending in watches, trusting me with their watches, that I'm able to provide content. So if you have a watch and you want to have it showcased in a channel, you want to lend it in, my email is located in the description below. Please shoot me an email. Love to talk to you and love to um, review and showcase your watch. So let's jump right into the specs. Let me zoom out a little bit. We have a 39 millimeter case diameter, a 48.5 millimeter lug to lug, and these lugs do curve down ever so slightly to conform to wrist. And you do have these holes here in the lugs for easy strap change. You got a 10.5 millimeter case thickness with a flat sapphire crystal and an underside of AR coating. 20 millimeter lug width. It comes with this calf skin leather strap that goes from 20 millimeters to 16. So it's very comfortable, nice strap. The buckle is very interesting. It is reminiscent of the shape of the case, which we'll get into right now. This is a 316L stainless steel case. Very interesting things going on here. The case at the 3 and 9 o'clock position is flush with the smooth polished bezel. And then around the 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 and 8 flare out. The case does, flares out here, jets out here, and then flares back in on the lugs. So it thins out the lugs, but gives the lugs the impression that the case that it starts closer to the middle of the case, which is interesting. You have this smooth out, polished, beveled edge that also starts at the tip of the lugs and then disappears at the 3 and 9 o'clock position. Also comes out at the 8 o'clock position here and flares out over here. So it gives it a nice, very interesting shape case. We do have a screw down case back butt with an exhibition window on it that's also sapphire. A nice little designed, engraved, or etched rotor here. This is powered by the Miyota 9015, which is a 28,800 beat per hour, 24 joule, 42-hour power reserve. You're seeing a lot of this lately with a lot of these micros that they're stepping up from like the NH35 and going with a little bit of a better movement, in my opinion, the Miyota 9015. I guess ETAs are getting a little too expensive or unavailable. Same with Solitas, maybe price point is a little higher, but the Miyota is just fine, and it allows for a thinner case at 10.5 millimeters. You can see here, signed crown with the visitor symbol there. So this is a 50-meter water-resistant watch. It's a push-pull crown. The first position will pop out, and let's get that. You have to, so the crown is a little on the thin side. It's a dress watch, so I find it easier to pull using the nail from the back end here. The first position there's another position here for the winding, and then that other position here is for the date change. See if I could get that there. And then of course the last position for the time setting. Let's push that back in. Very interesting. Polarizing dial, I would have to say. Let me just put the hands in a more favorable position here. Um, Black dial, you see the semblance of a crosshair. I'm trying to, hopefully you guys can see it. I could see it through the lens here, but hopefully you guys can pick it up too. Now the hour indices and the hands. Let's get the loom out of the way. It is BGW9. And I'll include a loom shot. So the hour indices, you have 12, 3, 6, 9 circle-shaped indices. And then on the other hours, you have this oblong shape that's pinched on one end here, I would say, or maybe it's like an long elongated teardrop, a, a comet with a tail, whatever it is, it's obviously a different shape. And What it does for me visually is that you see there's vastness here in the dial, but what it does for me, it doesn't, sometimes it helps me point into focus in the dial, but most times it almost feels like it's pulling me away from the center of the dial, the shapes. I'm following it out to the edges. So visually, it plays a couple of tricks with on me. Now, let's get into the hour hands, the hour, minute, and seconds hand. The seconds hand is a plain needle style hand that goes to the edge of the dial. The hour hand now the hour and a minute hand actually reminds me of lampposts for some reason. But you do have that circle shape on the hour hand like you do have with the 12, 3, 6, and 9 indices. And then it comes to a point here, and I know it's pointing to the hour, of course, but it also plays a trick on me that sometimes when I look at it, it looks like it's going in. Same here with the minute hand, which is like a diamond shape that's, elongated on one side. It looks like it's pointing into me for me. So while these hour indices are pointing out, the hand and minutes are pointing in. So yeah, so for me, this is not just a plain dial with like a vast middle of the dial. There's a lot of things going on for me personally. You may have a different experience, but for me, um, that's not the experience I'm getting. You do also, I failed to mention, you have these minute indicators at the edge of the dial. I'm going to throw this on wrist. Now, I weighed this watch and it came out to 72 grams. So very light dress watch. I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist, and I'll drop it down here. Let me zoom out so you get a better look of the watch. So very, very comfortable on wrist. It's very, very light and thin. I'll throw in an outdoor shot here as well for you guys. This watch MSRPs for $580. Let me get this off wrist real quick. So if you're looking for a dress watch that is going to be a little unique, um, and you like this look and style, for me the jury is still out. Which is usually a good sign because the longer and longer I have to think about the watch, the longer and longer I convince myself that I like it. And I'm going to drop in another watch here from my collection that made me feel the same way. Like initially, and if you guys ever saw any of my reviews or stated collections, and when I talk about this watch, the Tudor Black Bay 58, this is not a comparison. I just want to, but I'm comparing the way I felt about these two watches. I hated these snowflake hands initially. I couldn't stand them, and then one day something just switched in my head, and it just turned it around for me, and I became completely obsessed with the snowflake hands. I almost kind of had the same reaction with this watch. I just was like, I saw some reviews a few months ago. Um, I just wasn't, this watch is not for me. I could appreciate it stylistically. It's a little bit different, and I do appreciate when micros do that, that they're not just putting out, you know, Submariner homages. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like I'm just bombarded by that, and to see something different is great, but doesn't mean I have to like it. And this is, like I said, the jury's still out. I think the longer and longer this watch is, with me here before I have to send it out, the more and more likely it is that I'm just gonna buy it. There's just something uniquely different about this watch, and I appreciate that more and more. My taste in watches is changing. That something that looks a little bit different really catches my eye. And not all watches have to be completely versatile. Certain watches in the collection, or most watches in my collection, can have a specific purpose and look. I don't need a lot of daily wears. You know what I mean? Because then it gets boring for me. This watch, I don't think would get boring for me because it is so different and so interesting. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Please put a comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.